I start my education of a new group today by looking at the band The Flower Kings, and starting at the very beginning of their career by reviewing their debut release, Back in the World of Adventures, originally released on CD by Foxtrot Records in Sweden in 1995. Inside Out Records overseeing the distribution of the CD version throughout Europe from 1999. The album did appear on vinyl in 1996 from Record Heaven, but it omitted 4 tracks in fact: Oblivion Road, Theme for a Hero, My Cosmic Lover and Wonder Wheel. A full vinyl version was released by Inside Out Records in 2022, but again, let me know if that was incorrect, as the vinyl release details are not really very clear. Picking up the album, the cover immediately hits you as a classical progressive rock album. Though it wasn't designed or painted by Roger Dean, as so many of the classic covers were within prog history, it does give you that impression. The artist was credited as being Roine Stolt, who in fact was the founder and key member of the band. Now, he is the vocalist and guitarist, and as well as playing some of the keyboards. As well as that, he was responsible for writing the songs and producing the album. So a significant contribution to this project is somewhat an understatement. Joining Roine was Thomas Bowden on all things keyboards, Michael Stolt was on bass and backup vocals, and Jamie Salazar was on all drums, except the final track on the album, Big Puzzle, which was played by Hasse Bruinissen. Also, Ulf Wallander played soprano sax on Oblivion Road, My Cosmic Lover and Big Puzzle. The album was co-produced by someone called Don Azuro, but for all my investigations, I believe that this was an alias that Roine went under as well, and not really a person. Once again, if this is incorrect, let me know in the comments. There are 10 tracks accredited to the album, which I'll now begin to review. The obvious highlights are the opening and closing tracks to me, but more in a moment. It begins with a track called World of Adventures, which is the longest track on the album. It takes its lead from the classic Yes sound of the 70s, in my opinion. Now, Stolt is no John Anderson, but then again, who is? But he does create a very plausible vocals to accompany a rich prog masterpiece. Of that, there is no dispute. Now, this track starts off quite light, quite airy. There's gentle keys and a host of voices before transforming into a fully fledged prog track with a very high energy edge to it that luckily is maintained throughout the album. The mellotron works just perfectly. Stolt sings of getting high with references to magic carpets and strawberry gliders, and also being the children of a Woodstock nation. As the musical section takes over, the guitar reminds you so kindly of the master himself, Steve Howe, with an effective Hammond organ backing, further adding to the sound of the golden age of prog. There is a section at around the 8-minute mark that sounds just like Fountain of Salmacis by that other prog-heavy Genesis, before Stolt completes vocal duties on this track. It's a great opener, and I'm already all in on this album. The next track is a sort of double-edged track. It's called Atomic Prince and Kaleidoscope, and it's an 8-minute instrumental. Starting off with keyboard leads to dramatic effect before the drum and guitar join in. The Stolt lead is very pleasing, and this develops into a feel that would certainly have done the Canterbury scene proud. At about the 4-minute mark, the pace drops and the sound mellows somewhat as a mix of light sounds give you the impression that you're in an open space with birds and water about. It's a little like the run out on the track Dancing with the Moonlight Night by Genesis. An acoustic guitar then takes over to complete a back turn on the track, but you can't help but wonder to think that Hackett has just guested into this track. But that's no bad thing. The only small puzzle is why the massive change in style from these opening 2 pieces. That apart though, it cleanses the palate following that opening salvo. Go West Judas is next and treats us more of a straight rocker, but it's a real standout. There's excellent bass from Michael and some stunning drums from Salazar. It's a proverbial banger where Royner delivers outstanding vocals and a sumptuous guitar solo. Almost a medieval start to the track soon gets blown away with the heavy beat. The vocals are almost vaudevillian in the sound, and then that guitar solo, and I still think of Hackett, but it's not, but it's that good. Boy, this is a good track. Midways we have a collection of random conversation that pops in and out, as well as some laughter just to keep the interest going, before there's more guitar and then some Bodin magic on the keyboards. Now, did I say that this was a good track? More vocals to take us towards the finish, and I'm left with my head spinning from its sheer brilliance. It will need a really exceptional track for this not to be my favourite from the album. Now, I might have already commented on this, but it really is a good track. I'm not too sure. Anyway, cancel sarcasm mode. Train to Nowhere follows, and this is got a lovely acoustic opening, but there's a slower feel and more of a ballad type song. There's nice piano in the background and okay harmonies in the chorus. I feel that the track lags a bit despite all the previous mentions and actually comes across a little bit as dull, which is a shame. I've listened to the track a few times now and I just can't make progress with it. So it's going to have to go down as a stinker, I'm afraid. What does happen though is that the next track, the instrumental Oblivion Road, kicks straight in and there's no gap. So let's hope this one lifts the moods a little bit. It's got a silky smooth opening, heavy on the soprano sax from Ulf Wallander. Now there's an ethereal, almost Pink Floyd sound to it and some great organ playing from Bodin. It's pure jazz though this time, and it's so laid back it nearly falls over. But it's brief and to the point. However, it's not lifted my mood, unfortunately. Theme for a Hero continues the album and starts off like a 1960s travel advert with music to accompany it. However, it quickly develops into a really nice piece. It's upbeat and fills you with hope, with both guitar and keyboard working harmoniously together. This track, more than anything, demonstrates just how well produced this album really is. I can't help but hear Chris Squire in the beautiful bass line written for this piece, and I'm sure the great man would have been complimentary if asked about it. Instrumental throughout though, it's just another scintillating track. Then move on to Temple of Snakes, and it's a very brief piece, and whilst it seems a little overcritical, it should either have been omitted or made the end of the previous track, in my opinion. Let's move on. My Cosmic Lover follows and opens like a jazzy level 42 pop song from the mid-80s. The vocals begin and I'm nearly speechless as the track continues in a similar vein. It gives the album the variety, but possibly too much variety, as it's difficult to imagine this coming from the same pen as earlier and later masterpieces on the album. Again, let's move on to something different. Penultimate track, however, is The Wonder Wheel, and this is a slow and moody instrumental. Again, feels like Steve Hackett's playing. There's some interesting mellotron accompaniments, and as the track continues to climax, it sets up perfectly for the closing bookend track, Big Puzzle. Finish really where we started with a long masterpiece of a track, although this is actually 2 seconds shorter than the opener. It is in fact the second longest track, but it's well worth waiting for though. This time we liken the track to King Crimson, most recognisable being Starlight, but it's a lovely piece. Big Puzzle seems to be constantly on a changing time signature and or key change, and I wonder if that was the inspiration for the title of this one. Stolt sings of this change in the lyrics. He sings, "Don't know where we're coming from, don't know where we're going to. Another trick of evolution is into the cosmic revolution." To start and finish your debut album so strongly is indeed a mark of a very talented set of musicians, and Royner is to be congratulated on such an excellent pair of tracks on this album. Where this is slightly different to the opener though, it's that it lacks as much structure to it, and although a very good track, I'm not disputing that, it's easy on the ear, it's still not as good as that opener. So my first foray into the Flower Kings, and what a belter in my opinion, and really whets my appetite to delve into the well once again, as quickly as I can. The tracks are varied and interesting and proper prog, which is great seeing that we are in the mid-90s at this point. Stolt easily convinces us that he is a talented musician, writer and producer, possesses that ability to keep things varied and fresh at this early stage of the band's career. No two ways about it, I really enjoyed it, and at times there's no need to say more. So these are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments section below. If you do, please click the like button, and you can find ways to support the channel should you wish also in the comments section. Thanks very much for watching this one, and we'll see you next time on the Album Review channel. Bye for now.